let's talk about Gundam for a minute.
Yeah.
Because we were not going to have time to talk about Gundam.
We literally aren't going to have time for literally anything else.
But since we have time for Gundam right now.
Yeah.
It's a Gundam show, man. Like, there's people...
I've been watching it, I know.
But they talk, they do the Gundam stuff where they just...
Yeah, there's shadow organizations and stuff, man. They got to do stuff.
But the thing where, in the middle of fights, everybody's talking too much and they're yelling at each other inside their mobile suits and, drama is super heightened and everyone has their ideals and, it's a Gundam show. So let's not get super
the bad
crazy.
guy has to monologue at you about how rad their Gundam is and how your machine can't keep up. And
is the bad guy a good guy or is the good guy a bad guy and are they making the right decisions?
Right, yes.
And, okay, all that stuff is still here. I'm not getting crazy here. I understand what I'm saying. All right?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It's still going to be what it is. Forget that it's a Gundam show. Forget that it's an anime. A show in general. I can't remember the last time some things happened to characters in a show that I was watching by myself and I went, oh no. Or oh no, don't do that. You know what I mean? Like
you actually cared that the character was acting in a way you didn't agree with?
Or I sincerely cared about stuff that happened to characters. I never expected them to make certain turns with certain characters because it's an anime. And you're like, okay, well, this is clearly how this is going to play out. Oh, that guy's now dead. Okay.
Yeah.
Now what are they going to do? Yeah. And starting with episode 15, you find some stuff out about some main characters that they've just sort of left out. And you're like, they didn't leave it out in a, we have to back into making the story make sense kind of way. They left it out in a, you kind of didn't need to know this until now, but now you need to know this.
This is coming up now. It's time to learn.
Maybe these characters are acting this way because this thing happened, and once you see it on the screen, you're like, oh my God, they've been telling us this whole time and I didn't know. It's not like I couldn't guess because the information wasn't there.
Right.
But now that you know, right?
Right.
And then so 5 episodes of that go by where okay, this show is really popping off. This is after, by the way, I texted you at the beginning of season 2 when they're like, hey, maybe Gundam should be a show where there's history about why things happen. And that's when they do the Evangelion thing a little bit. And then episode 20 kicks off. And that's where I am ish right now. I can't. I don't want to spoil it by looking things up on the internet because why would you spoil it for yourself, right? But I kind of feel like I have to know what happens. It's a good show.
Yeah, it sounds good.
It's clear it might be my favorite Gundam now.
Okay. That's bold words.
Yeah, man. I mean, Wing was great when we were kids, but it's not that great a show.
Dude, I've rewatched parts of Wing recently. It's incomprehensible.
Yeah.
It's completely incomprehensible. Nothing is set up. I have no idea who any of these people are. What is going on?
I know. That's what I'm saying. This clearly was meant to be a season or 2 seasons. Self-contained. They explain everything, even the stuff at the beginning when you're like, I don't understand this Calamity War stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually...
There's a big opening scroll that sets a bunch of that up, but then they explain it more as they go along.
And they allude to things that later on are this was part of the plan the whole time. Okay. That's part of the Calamity War. I understand now a little better.
Mm-hmm.
So it's well meted out, and they do a good job. You think in the first season, I feel this is a good Gundam show, right? One of the main characters dies in the first season, and you're kind of like, well, that's kind of on par for a Gundam show. You got to lose one character, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you kind of like, I don't know, they do a really good job of making you care about the rest of the characters quite a bit, even though it is what it is.
Yeah.
And then it stops being what it is. There's a lot of main characters, by the way. I'm not really spoiling anything. They do a really good job.
I mean, I know, because even after 9, they're introducing more people. So.
Oh, and season 2, there's a whole new crop of people to know. For reasons. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
It's manageable by the end, right? Like, despite the ridiculous hair that they put on some of the characters, like they do a good job of making you remember who's who, I think.
Yeah.
But like, man, they do some things that I would never have expected ever in a Gundam show. Because ostensibly they're kind of shows for kids, right? But maybe not. I don't know. Are they not?
I don't know. Yeah. Maybe. It's unclear to me.
It's unclear to me too, because they don't outright say some stuff. But if you read between the lines between some male characters, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or like if you read between the lines on some stuff that happens in a flashback, it's kind of really fucked up.
Oh, I mean, yeah, it's messed up from the beginning when they're like, yeah, corporations just use these kids to fight because it's cheaper.
Because we bought them in slavery and we can do this surgery on them that kills adults. Yeah. And like by the end of season 2, you know, some of them aren't kids anymore, right? Mm. And I think they do a really good job. I personally feel like they do a really good job like laying out like this is what happens because they grew up this way. And that's what I have to say without spoilers.
Okay. Thank you. I'm going to continue watching it because it seems good.
I'm talking about it this way because I was really taken off guard with how different completely connected story-wise, not disjointed, not new, not anything. Completely a continuation of their first season. But the second season is a completely different animal and it moves fast. I like thinking back to where season 2 started and where they are now is like crazy. There's time to breathe. It's not like I have not felt any Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
They let every moment breathe. They let a lot of character development happen, but like for 26 episodes of 20 something minutes, that's really well done. That's my spiel about Gundam. I think I'm done. It was weird that like this is kind of Evangelion-ish for a minute. It kind of ends the comparisons eventually, but some of the history stuff.
At least the part I've seen where they're like, oh yeah, all this like whatever the system is that they use to control them is like a really painful operation. All the kids hate doing it, but they make them do it because slaves. And like it's a bad situation.
Oh yeah, the Alea Vinyana.
Yeah,
that's what they call it. You'll hear it a million times over the course of the show.
I have heard it a million times already, and I'm on episode 9.
It's kind of important though.